Hello, everyone. Welcome back to yet another political episode. So, Republicans had a horrible night last night, and we're going to talk about what went wrong about that night, which honestly, we knew we were going to. It was an uphill climb. I mean, we had two blue states we were going to have to win, but we got blown out in both states. We knew we were going to get blown out in Virginia. But not New Jersey. We thought we were going to do very well in the state of New Jersey. And it turned out that we got lambozled by, which I thought would be the impossible scenario, ended up happening. And we're going to talk about this in a series of, I would say, autopsy videos. Because I would say Republicans took nothing home. Absolutely nothing home. And we have a lot to learn about these races, because Republican Party, I think it's just cope, just absolute cope for the Republicans that say, oh well, we will do good in the midterms. No, are you kidding? If you can't get your base out to show up for a simple gubernatorial election for every 4 years, you have a problem. This is very, very, very concerning, and there's a very dangerous trend. What we're noticing is that a lot of Republicans, these older Republicans, the main base of the Republican Party, they only show up to vote in presidential races, and that is problematic, okay? That can't happen, and as a result, we're going to have to do an autopsy, break it down one by one, because each state's a little different. For the state of Georgia, I made it clear that, I thought that Tim Echols would win, mainly because of the name experience. Unfortunately, that was not the case. Alicia Johnson ended up sweeping the state of Georgia in the biggest statewide victory in Georgia this century, I want to believe, or at least since the early 2000s. This is the first time a Democrat has taken the said state of, I should say this is the very first time Democrats have, of course, taken a seat in the Public Service Commission race or election. And we're going to go over this autopsy video of what went wrong. And I'll tell you, this really wasn't because of messaging. It was because of turnout. Now, we're going to have to determine, was turnout the whole issue in 2025? We can't keep saying that it was turnout issue, folks. I think we have enough people showing up. I don't know. We're going to have to dissect it one by one. But in Georgia, we can say it is turnout, okay? For one thing, I had concern, okay? Lots of concern looking at that, reviewing the primary results for Tim Echols. And you'll see that he only got 47,000 votes. That shows me that his base is sleeping. 80% of his base was sleeping on the wheel, okay? They didn't know this result was going on, or some of them thought, he's the incumbent. Lee Munns, he doesn't really stand a chance. Okay? And I don't know what was wrong, but there was no debate. I don't think there was a debate. And that was a tragic mistake. A tragic mistake. I mean, yet alone, I wonder how many fundraisers took place in this whole ordeal. Fundraisers, because you and I, we didn't know about this race. And it was because you and I, we didn't know about this race is why Alicia Johnson swept Georgia with 62% of the vote. Now, you could be an optimist. Oh, well, at least she didn't get over 1 million. Well, it doesn't really matter. Yeah. Sure, yeah, it's a low turnout on her end, too. That's why I'm saying it straight out. It's a low turnout issue. But Republicans didn't turn out the most. More African Americans showed up in this election than Republicans, which is shocking because we're talking about Georgia next year. how critical Georgia will be next year. And you have results like this. Now, obviously, the result will be bigger, I hope, in 2026 for both Democrats. There's a Senate race. But let's talk about momentum, because Democrats, they had momentum everywhere. Mainly because they thought of this as a war, as a way to stick it to Trump. Even though we can see if Trump did get the Tim Michaels endorsement. But no, he didn't get the endorsement. But it really doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Because in this sort of issues, in this type of race, when it comes to the average left-wing Trump-deranged Democrat, if you have an R by your name, you're a MAGA Republican. If you're not in line with the Democratic Party 100% of the time, you are a MAGA Republican. So that's just, it is what it is. So the first part of the autopsy is Georgia. You'll see that the third district was obviously no different. And I have lots of grief to give for Fitz Johnson, because Fitz Johnson ran as this was a solid red state, and this was not a solid red state. Just 3 weeks ago, there was a debate for District 3, and it was very awkward because Fitz Johnson decided not to show up. That's right, yeah, he decided not to show up because he thought this was going to be a solid red race. This was a safe red state, just like for the reasons I thought, although I didn't think it was going to be safe red, but he thought, well, the African Americans are going to stay home. Well, it didn't appear to him that the average Georgian didn't even know this race was going on. And at least to make you can't even make a nudge and say, oh, hey, look, guys, come out. I'm going to debate what's his name. No, you don't show up because you are so ignorant. So ignorant. You don't even show up to debate Peter Hubert. And Peter Hubert just awkwardly stands to a podium with a vacant podium next to him. And of course, the Georgia media, they'll say, oh, well, since Fitz Johnson wasn't here to do the debate, you have opportunity to ask Fitz Johnson a question. If he was here, and he goes, why didn't you show up to debate? And honestly, I'm not going to lie, that's a logical question. I want to see if I can find that video in that moment. Yeah, that's a logical question, folks. I don't care if you hate Peter Hubert or not. I'm not a fan of him. But I was wondering the same thing. Where's my candidate? Where is my candidate? Why is he not standing? Like, why is he not here? Why is he not here? It's just this guy and this podium debating each other. And you may think it makes Peter Hubert look ridiculous, but no, it doesn't. It actually spells the incompetence of the Republican. The ignorance of him not showing up and doing nothing. This is I just, never again. Fitz Johnson is done. If he is going to run with that type of mentality, his political career is over. The GOP will forbid him from running. Because never, ever, ever should a Democrat win Georgia by 60%. That is ridiculous. But I want to go ahead and see what the debate lady is going to say.
Since Fitz Johnson declined to participate, Peter Hubbard, you may pose a question to the empty podium. You will also have 30 seconds to provide a rebuttal to how you feel your opponent would have responded.
My question would be, why didn't you have the courage to show up today and defend your 6 rate hikes in 2 years? And what will you do to lower power bills? The answer to that question is I had the courage to show up here today like John Ossoff did to this day and every day, and unlike the Republicans. So what will I do to lower power bills? I've mentioned a few, but I will unlock the value of solar that is held captive by the monopoly electric utility who has their thumb on the scale of fossil fuels. I'll bring down that profit metric, which would unlock $700 million that we can use to lower power bills. And I'll accelerate some of the technologies like virtual power plants while also making data centers pay their fair share.
All right. Thank you very much. Any more?
See? Like, I mean, let's be real. I mean, if the media, Atlanta Press, or whatever it's called Atlanta Press Club, they really cared about the transparency of the debate, maybe they shouldn't have moved on. But, I can't say, Fitz Johnson, you did it to yourself. Come on. This is a swing state. And you go in here thinking, well, I'm the incumbent. Oh, please. You haven't run a race before. You were appointed, by the way. You were appointed to this seat. We have no idea who you are. We're supposed to trust you because you tell us, oh, well, I'm the incumbent. So what? That doesn't tell me anything. I think you were destined to lose. Looking at previous results, tight race and all. So, yeah, this was a horrible prediction of mine. I thought Fitz Johnson would win. Tim Echols would win. Tim Echols, I don't know if there was a debate or there wasn't a debate, but if there was a debate, it's either maybe Tim Echols did what he could and such. But hey, don't tell. I'm going to give Tim Echols some criticism too because he also blew it. Tim Echols, if there was no debate, you should have advocated for one. I don't care if you beat a libertarian by 66.58%. I don't care. This is a libertarian. He's not a Democrat. Okay? But besides, this is 9 years ago. 9 years ago. You should have said, hey, look, I don't care about the demographic trends. I think it's the smart move. I think it's a smart move. If I go and I say, and if I go and advocate for a debate. Now, I don't think there was a debate for this said District 2 election. I'm not seeing any sign of a debate down below. But there was a debate for District 3. I'm just saying, yeah, Republicans dropped the ball. They did not advertise this race. They did not fundraise. They did nothing. This is probably one of the worst parts of the night for us. Because this is you can wiggle your way with New Jersey. You can wiggle your way with Virginia. Oh well, those states are Kamala Harris states. They voted for Kamala by like 5 points. You can make up that excuse. Even though you totally blew it out of proportion. But you can't do it with Georgia. No, you can't do it with Georgia. Oh, it's a swing state. Not anymore. According to 2025, it's blue by 62.73%. Is it like that permanently? No, because obviously we've identified the issue. We've identified the problem is turnout. Okay? We've identified that, in total, around 1,040,000 people casted their votes in this whole entire election. We don't have the total votes tallied out yet, but I would imagine close to 1,500,000. That is not the amount of people that voted in. I want to use the Georgia United States Senate race as an example, if you will. Looking at the Senate race in Georgia, right here. Yeah, this is an example. Now, this was a race with low turnout, But notice, Republicans managed to turn out to 2 million. All right, 2 million Republicans. Oh, this is the first round. A little bit less, 1 million and a third of voters showed up for Herschel Walker. Okay, got over 1 million Republicans, 1.5 million Republicans showing up to vote. In an election where generally, a lot of people would think, hey, this is useless, because a lot of people, Republicans especially, hate voting twice. Like, they go to the polls and they learn the election results are saying, oh, well, we need a runoff. And they're like rolling their eyes. No, I'm not going to vote. I'm not going to stand in that line again. Well, apparently, we guarantee there's guaranteed at least 1,721,000 1 million of those, over 1.5 million will show up and participate in a runoff, which does lead to a close race, but it's not enough for Dems to win, because Dems, they'll say, oh, great, we get to vote again. Republicans just sleep at the wheel. They say, oh, well, I'm not going to vote again. And I get it. Voting's not fun. I beg to differ. I just enjoy participating in this democracy. But and you'll see that even with the turnout for Warnock too is even lower too. He went from 1,900,000 to 1,800,000. So it's all about momentum. What drove Democrats to get up to this high? It could be Trump derangement. When they see any election, they're off to the polls. They're going to vote because of their Trump derangements. Just stick it to Trump. Like, Public Service Commission has nothing to do with Trump. This is really about electricity bills, energy bills, etc. Maybe they are expensive, and maybe that this obviously improved, that helped incentivize people to vote in Georgia statewide, get some Republican votes for Alicia Johnson. But man, it wasn't still, Alicia Johnson, it wasn't much of a turnout compared to an average Senate runoff, which is low turnout in general. This is historic low turnout. This is like U.S. primary turnout. So, this was an embarrassment. This was not a good night. This was not the cherry top of what made this a bad night, but it's not a good look. It's not a good look, and it spells doomsday for 2028. Because I've talked about this year about Georgia and the state voting for Democrat because of that metro. Okay, now looking at the results, this county, we can actually pull this up. This isn't good. This county, I don't know what it's called, but Johnson won this county, and it's because of turnout. The whole entire metro, 70% Democratic. Okay? The Black Belt. And again, African-American turnout was generally higher compared to white turnout. And I'm guessing there is one county left that has not been accounted for. Imagine that no one in this county ever voted, Democrat or Republican. That proves to you that, Democrats had a hard time with this too. But Republicans, this is a solid red county. For the crying out loud, get people out to vote. Come on. So obviously, this wasn't really what a lot of people were looking at. I'm probably the only analyst that's been paying attention to this race. Barely, by the way, because I found out about this race 2 weeks when it was actually going to happen. To a point, it's my fault, because I should have done more researching, but it just popped up on us. I noticed it popped out around, and all the people in the comments were saying, oh, I never knew this actually happened. This is the very first time I'm hearing someone actually talk about these Georgia races. And I'm like, that's bad. If this is the very first time you're hearing about this, now Pennsylvania is a little different, but these are executive, to a point, races. Executive races. So, we deserve the L on this one. I mean, we're gonna have, when it comes, and for those of you that will say, oh, it's not a big deal, we'll just jump to the midterms. No. We will not jump to the midterms, because we will lose the midterms if we don't address this. How did we lose this? It's because of Trump. I think it's Trump derangement syndrome, and that's an obstacle that we're going to have to face. But we had this race in the bag, guys. We had this race in the bag. And of course, I was so naive to consider that, oh, Tim Echols is so dumb. Too delusional to actually get his whole base out to vote. Okay, I was assuming you were. It's either that or your ads were horrible. Let's be honest, and part of the reason why Tim Echols lost so bad is this guy's been in office forever. I mean, clearly, he probably would have lost if there was probably more of a higher turnout. But he was first elected in 2010 to the state office. He enjoyed 2016 and he lost big in 2025. It's a bitter pill to swallow. I like Tim Echols. He's a good guy. But bro, you blew it. You blew it last night. I don't know what went wrong. We haven't been following this race at all. But what happened was unacceptable. Unacceptable. So, I want to pull up the 2025 Georgia public instruction race. I don't think they're going to have the map ready. District 3. I think it's just being edited. But if I were to take a guess, if you all put a betting mark, it would be exactly the same as this. Same numbers. Peter Hubbard did a little bit better. That's because Peter Hubbard, not gonna lie, he resonates a lot with common sense people. He's probably a low testosterone lunatic, but you didn't have Fitz Johnson on the stage to put him in his place. No one's going to participate and look at these debates. At a debate that is just basically a one-candidate forum. I guarantee you, everyone that showed up to that debate, really, that wasn't a show up. No one showed up to that debate, but everyone that viewed that debate live in all streams were Hubbard supporters, if there were any. But maybe there were some Fitz Johnson supporters. But I'm just saying, hey guys, from here to January, we can do midterm recruitments, but that's not going to do us any good. That's not going to do us any good. Because you can get the strongest person in the world. Oh, we talk about Money Mike. Michael Latley. He's going to lose. He's going to lose if we don't figure out this problem. because I have breaking news for you all. The Republican Party has always been broken. 2024 was an exception because Trump was on the ballot. And you had candidates embracing Trump. But they'll say, oh, well, Jack Ciattarelli ran, and we're going to do my own video on that tomorrow. I say tomorrow because we're doing a complete autopsy of this disastrous night. Because this disastrous night has to be studied head to toe. And this is actually worse than 2023. Where we lost Kentucky by like 5. Yeah, this night was worse than 2023. And keep in mind, we had the presidential election year after. This is worse. This is worse. I say that with a passionate heart. Because, it's about fundraising. And Jack was hitting it with the fundraising. And he just completely lost it. So we are going to have to talk about that in tonight's video. It's sad. It's disappointing. But yeah, I think there needs to be accountability with these kind of nights. These GOP leaders, they can't say, oh, well, we had a bad night. Move on. No. Everything else needs to wait. Everything else needs to wait. And President Trump needs to be involved too. And I'm sorry, yeah, he needs to get involved because he's not doing everything right either. I think he's doing good with the crime. But and to a point, though, it doesn't matter how good he tries to... I think he needs to do better with his approval rating. Make an effort. But it doesn't really matter. You'll still have the Trump deranged lunatics. They'll hate on him no matter what. So it's damned if you do, damned if you don't. And we're going to do a full study of this tonight. It's very disappointing. It's very disappointing. We knew. I've said it. Every single day of this year. This is not our year to win. And everyone seemed to acknowledge that. But there is an expectation of amount of voter presence. And there's an expectation of turnout and energy. That's the expectation. And we didn't deliver that tonight. We'll talk about that tonight on the 5th. Very sad November 5th. And I can take from this. I am thankful, truly am, that this wasn't the midterms. Because if we went into this with this ego, with, oh, well, the Democrats are imploding. The Democrats are falling apart. The Democrats are this. They can't win an election. Blah, 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 blah. We would be screwed. And the real conversation we're going to have is what motivates people to get out and vote. Because we had energy prices. We had affordability in New Jersey. And New Jersey went deep blue. What went wrong? I think it was the shutdown, to be honest with you. The shutdown. That played a significant role in New Jersey for sure. Other than that and Trump derangement, that pretty much sealed the night for Jack Ciattarelli. And it's very sad. It's disappointing and it's discouraging. But yeah, I think we need radical election reform. And what I mean by radical election reform is I've always been critical with these special elections in the middle of the year. We should not have special elections in springtime and in summertime. We should always have it on election day. No, the first Tuesday of November has always been election day. I don't know why some stupid idiots decided other days were exceptional. I think primary elections are honestly different because they lead up to that election day on Tuesday in November. I think that's going to have to happen, but that's not going to help much because this was the biggest election since 2024, and we just completely blew it. Now, I know what Democrats are going to say. Oh, it's Trump's bad. Your president's bad. The administration is collapsing, blah, 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 blah. And I'm saying to a point, I understand his numbers aren't as good as what they should be right now. But let's be honest, your president was a skeleton, rotten, a corpse, in the Oval Office, doing nothing, going to Delaware while the economy was falling apart. Wars were starting up everywhere. Migrants were invading. And Democrats swept in 2023. You can make this to be a Trump issue, or you can make this to be an energy issue. And in 2023, it was more of abortion. This is about Trump. And my concern is it going to be like 2018, where Democrats were so excited to vote against Trump? That is the concerns that everyone should be asking themselves. So anyway, what do you guys think about this video? Disastrous night in Georgia. And President Trump, he needs to take notes right now. I don't want to hear about Venezuela. I don't want to hear about Nigeria. I don't want to hear about tariffs. No, the future of what will determine the second half of your tenure in office, Mr. President, is right here, and it's not looking good. So President Trump needs to be concerned, and he needs to address, as a party leader, what went wrong. So anyway, what do you guys think in regards to this video? Let me know down below. And as always, I'll see you on the next political episode.